Hello and welcome to Best One Voice podcast. I'm your host, Kim Charlson. And in today's episode, we're going to talk all about the keys to healthy relationships, how you can improve your relationships in your life, and how you can start thinking about them a little bit differently from an energetic perspective. Let's get into it. One of the hardest things for me in relationships has always been feeling like I wasn't a burden in my relationships. And I know that a lot of women can really resonate with this, is that I always felt like I needed to be giving a lot in relationships for them to be good. That's what friendship meant, is that you were always there for your friends, that you cared for them, that you would show up for them, that you'd support them, that you'd have fun with them, that you were available when they would text you or ask to hang out. And I would very rarely expect or anticipate much in return. And I'd always be hoping that that would be what would happen in relationships. But I wouldn't approach the relationship with that intention. It was more of like wishful thinking of, if I had a friend that I could be there for, maybe they could be there for me too. And it wasn't until I started to really understand energy and energetic relationships and how they're created before I really started to internalize, hey, that's actually not what a healthy relationship is. A healthy relationship isn't you're always showing up for somebody, but that you're not expecting things in return. That doesn't mean that you're being a burden to your friends. It means that you are setting the intention for the relationship. And as Monty's going to talk about in today's episode, relationships are really an energetic tie between two people. That's why we have energy work that we do about cutting cords. So if you don't know anything about the energy work of cutting cords, basically the idea is that there's an energy cord that ties two people together, and that's representing their relationship. You need to cut that energetic cord between two people, and then allows you to end the relationship tie of that energy, and you can move on with your life. Of course, it's not always so that easy in practice, and there's a lot of different practices that people in different spiritual and magical traditions use, such as cord cutting ceremonies using candles. There's lots of different ways that people will approach this, but at its core is an understanding that your relationship is a tie of energy. Monty in today's episode is going to talk a little bit about what a healthy relationship looks like when it comes to that energy and how it interacts between the two people. And I think it's a really important thing for us to understand, because when we approach a relationship of thinking about that relationship is very one way of like, I'm going to show up for this relationship. I'm going to be here for this friend. I'm going to be here for this romantic relationship. We are not very often open to receiving as part of that. It is a two-way street, and it took me a long time before I realized that. And I can really actually think of a really specific instance where the universe was like, hey, this is not how relationships are supposed to work. My husband and I, we were friends with another couple, and we would go out with them for dinner every so often, and they would ask us for help. Sometimes we'd always show up when they asked. But we had a habit of we never asked people for help, because we both saw it as we're independent, we can do stuff on our own. We don't want to be a burden to other people. We can depend on each other, but depending on outside people was just, that was failing, or that wasn't what we were supposed to do. And we went out for dinner one time with this couple, and they said to us, we really love being friends with you, but you never ask us for help. You never ask us for anything. We want to be there for you, but you never let us. And it was a shock to me that I was failing in this friendship because I wasn't asking for help. I wasn't asking for them to show up when I needed them or to support them. And what it was is that I would always be there for them, but I was not allowing them and receiving their support and them to be there for me. And so that relationship, while it was very deep on my side of things, it wasn't deep on their side. And that created an unequal relationship. And it wasn't anyone's intention to do that, beyond myself, of not letting them be there, not receiving. While I had the intention of, I don't want to imbalance this relationship, I actually created that imbalance by not understanding that relationships are a give and take. They're a giving and receiving always. And if you don't have that intention with relationships, that's where they can really either stay at surface level, or they can be imbalanced, or they can fall apart. So now we're going to go to Monty and see what he has to say and I'll be back for a little bit more reflection on the human side of things. Thank you for joining us for this segment of the podcast where we will discuss the spirit perspective on the keys to having happy and healthful relationships in your life. The key to relationships is first understanding that a relationship is formed through an energetic connection between two parties. Those parties can be physical, they can be non-physical, they can be human, they can be non-human. It does not matter so much between the different counterparts as part of the relationship as it does so much matter of the energetic tie between the two. This energetic tie dictates what type of relationship you have with them, of the nature and intent that you each individually have within this energy. When you develop a relationship with someone, you send your energy out to make a connection with that individual. And as part of that relationship, you have different intentions, subconscious and conscious, as part of that relationship, as part of that energy that you are sending to the other person. The other person can choose whether or not they wish to accept this relationship energy. This is when someone, maybe you feel that you would like to develop a relationship with them, but they would not and feel resistant. It may be that they are showing up in that partnership, in that relationship in such a way that they are physically present and yet their energy is not open to the relationship. And so you feel blocked. You feel as though they are distant. You feel as though that you are not receiving what you wish to receive in return. Many individuals believe that the intention that they send outwards in a relationship should be what they receive. And so when they receive it back again from that individual, it is merely their own energy, and they do not have the energetic conscious discernment to understand that there is no relationship present, as a relationship is a connection from both sides. Now, in the instance where someone does accept your energy coming into their energetic envelope and creates a one-way relationship, it can be that they benefit from your energy and yet do not provide anything back in return to you. These sorts of one-sided relationships can be very harmful for the individual when it is not a two-way relationship because, again, this is truly not a relationship. This is someone who is taking in your energy and benefiting from it without creating the relationship in return. When this occurs, you will feel over time that this relationship is, in your mind of it being a relationship now, is extremely draining. It does not provide you any sort of resources, any sort of support that you are seeking from a relationship, whatever your intention may be. This one-sided relationship that you have constructed is one where you are giving constantly. And as such, it will begin to drain your energy over time. Now, there can be times when someone is desiring a relationship with you and you desire at a higher frequency and a higher intention. So you are constantly sending energy their way, and yet they only send intermittent energy back to you. That can be another form of relationship that is not quite as mutually beneficial to both parties. Now, in the instance where they are intermittently being involved within the intention of being in a relationship with you, sending in energy to you, sending support, and their intention of maintaining that relationship over time, it can make you also feel drained because the energy is not a match. Because as the energy flows from one party to the other, a true relationship of true equality is when the energy, for the most part, is an equal flow. Now, there may be times during a relationship where you are sending more love, support, and intention towards your relationship counterpart than they are capable of sending to you. This does not negate the fact that there may be other times that you will be in that position of being one who is more on the receiving end. It is more of the relationship on the long term than any one particular moment in time. But if you notice these trends in your relationship of that you are always the one showing up with the intention, giving the energy, but only ever receive intermittent support and energy and intention back, then this is an unequal relationship and may not be beneficial to you. Now, when it comes to beneficial and mutually beneficial relationships, where both parties are sending energy at equal proportions and equal rates, though it may be intermittent at times, as we have previously mentioned, it is important to note that when a relationship is the most aligned and most beneficial is not when the energies in their frequency of the type of energy are aligned, and not when the energies in the frequency in terms of volume of energy, of the amount of energy flowing from one to the other is unequal. It is merely the intention of the relationship that matters. In relationships, the flow of the energy and the type of the energy will be different depending on how often the relationship is engaged in by both parties, as well as the individual energy coming from each person. You will bring your unique soulful energy into a relationship, whether or not you are aware of it, that is unique to you, as does your counterpart. So therefore, the energies cannot be identical. Because they are similar, however, they can be harmonious, and this creates a harmonious relationship. As well as sometimes the energy will be more focused on one counterpart than the other. Both of these are acceptable and normal in a healthy relationship, but rather the intention is where it can differ, and that is where a relationship where it is of an energetic flow of mutual benefit in between can fall apart over time. And this can go for any type of relationship in your life, whether it is a friendship, a romantic relationship, or those that are more external, such as coworkers. It does not matter what type of relationship it is, but it is always the intention behind each individual counterpart that matters. So, for example, you are in a romantic relationship and your intention is always facing your counterpart, and your intention with them is to give them love and support and space and communication and all of the things that you wish to have within your relationship. This is your intention for your relationship. Now, if the other party has different intentions for their relationship, say, for example, while they are giving you energy and are mutually benefiting from the energy that it is transferring between the two of you through this relationship tie, if their intentions for the romantic relationship are very different than yours in terms of they are looking instead for someone to always take care of them, or they are looking for someone to financially provide for them, but this is not what your intentions are met with, then that is where the intentions no longer align. So it can be very beneficial to think about your intentions for a relationship and then question and reflection on the intentions of your counterpart, and to also ask them what their intentions are for the relationship in terms of what they wish to give and wish to provide, as well as what they wish to receive. The same can go for you as well, that you need to understand that you need to think of your intention both in the sense of giving as well as the sense of receiving. For many in relationships, especially for women in particular, there has been the habit of always being on the giving side, of always understanding that the relationship is created through giving, and that when you receive, that is the mutual giving created on both sides. However, this is an incorrect view of a relationship because it is a mutual flow of energy between two counterparts. You must also be open to receiving, and that must be part of your intention. This may happen, especially in relationships where you have felt that you have given, you have given, you have given, and yet there is a miscommunication because the other party feels as though they have given, they have given, they have given, and yet somewhere it is not being received. And this is because potentially you are not open to receiving the energy that they are sending, the support, the love, etc., that they are sending, or that the intention of what they are sending to you does not align with the intentions of what you wish to receive. It is important to reflect on both of these aspects of a relationship to be healthy and for it to be productive. When speaking about the productivity of relationships, why do we have relationships in the first place? Well, for example, it can be that different relationships help you along your spiritual journey in different ways. One can be of support, another could be of a catalyst of change, another could be as an example of what you do not wish to be. All of these are different types of relationships, and they can show up in very many different forms in your life from very many different types of relationships. It could be that you have a particular coworker who is a catalyst of change for you. Now, these types of relationships are equally as important as the relationships of mutual beneficial respect, mutual beneficial giving and receiving that you may have more in a supportive relationship. A catalytic relationship is a bit more difficult, but it is still the mutual sending and receiving of energies, the transfer of energies between the two of you. And it may be that your intentions, while they are not always apparent, are to create catalytic change in the other. It very well could be that their energy is producing a specific result in the way that you receive it, because the energy that they are sending to you is producing a change within your internal energy and structure. These types of relationships can be very difficult and very challenging, yet can be mutually beneficial. Sometimes they are also only beneficial in one direction. For example, you may have a coworker who does not change, who is a catalyst to you, but that you are not a catalyst to them. Understand that even though you do not see it, that they are sending you energy and making you go through that change in your mind, although it is your choice to allow the catalytic energy into your frame, into your system to create the change. You are also sending energy to them. Now, you may understand that that energy is negative. It is the energy of frustration, the energy of dislike, contempt, resentment, all of these different energies. However, they may be receiving those energies all the same. It depends on their intention for the relationship and whether or not they are open to receiving those energies. It takes a very specific practice for them not to take in those energies of resentment, those energies of conflict. As such, it may be that they too are learning how to work with their energy to hold energy they do not want at a distance, while accepting energies that they do want from different relationships and creating those sorts of energetic boundaries that are required. This is how some relationships can be mutually beneficial, despite that the relationship is one full of challenge, contempt, and resentment. Now, what happens when one side is full of this energy and the other isn't and is unaware of this situation? Well, the intentions then are at odds, and this will create a discordance in the energy. That is when the energies are no longer harmonic with each other. And so therefore, it is not a healthy relationship, despite that the relationship still exists, because this energy is consistently being transferred between parties. Relationships, as you remember, are any energetic type where you are transferring energy to anything else of any type. So while you may have a relationship with one person that is challenging and difficult, they may not have a relationship back to you. It may be one of those one-sided relationships. All of these different relationships serve different purposes in your life. So understanding that your intentions can always be changed, as well as your willingness to participate energetically with someone else, will dictate whether or not the relationship exists. So, in your life, say you wish to change a relationship. You do not change the energy first. You do not change the interaction of what you are receiving either. You change the intention that you have for that relationship by first assessing, what is it that I wish to give to the other party in terms of my energy, and what do I wish to receive? Then you begin to change what you are sending, and you hope and discuss and communicate as necessary what you wish to receive. Over time, this relationship may change. It may not. And then you must review your intentions for the relationship and decide when it is time to terminate that relationship. It is working on the relationship in this way, from intention to the energy you send to the energy you receive. Over time as well, if you keep not receiving energy from your relationship counterpart by understanding that what they are sending you no longer wish to receive, but you are still maintaining your giving of the energy in the relationship, this person if they truly wish to have a mutually beneficial relationship, will adapt and will change over time of what they are giving in their aspect of the relationship. If they do not, then the relationship becomes very one-sided over time. Then you must make a choice and decide, is this a relationship I wish to continue? After you have changed the intention, after you have changed the energy, and after you have changed your openness for receiving, that is when you decide whether or not you wish to change a relationship and continue down that path of making adjustments, or if you wish to terminate the relationship. You can also terminate the relationship when you are at the assessment stage if you truly feel that it is not possible to continue with the intentions that you have and understanding the intentions of the other party. It is always wise and advisable to communicate about your intentions for the relationship in both aspects of what you wish to give and what you wish to receive, and invite your counterpart to do the same. These sorts of conversations can be structured in a very easy manner of saying, this is what I wish to provide for you as part of this relationship. This is the energy I wish to bring to this relationship. This is how I wish to interact with you. And then say, in exchange, I would love to receive X or Y or Z as part of that relationship. And understand that there may be, how shall we put it, misunderstandings as you are communicating this, and that it is okay to be patient and okay to try again as these things happen in relationships. It is always the intention. It is always the intention to maintain the relationship that will keep the relationship going. Now, in the instance where you have decided that you no longer wish to maintain this relationship and you wish to move on with your energy, it is of the utmost importance that you no longer maintain that energetic tie between you and that other individual. Some people find that it is beneficial to use tools such as cord cutting ceremonies or energy work to prevent the transfer of energy between you and the other individual. It may also be that you have allowed the other individual to put energetic hooks into you so that way they can continue to be attached to you despite that you no longer wish to participate in that relationship. However, your intention is enough, and understanding that you no longer wish to be in this relationship is enough. Every single time that you feel that your energy is connected to them, disconnect. Let go of the cords and move forward. Refocus your intention onto the things that do matter to you. Reset those intentions, recalibrate your boundaries, so that way you can instead bring in the energies that you want and exude the energies that you want. So that way you are no longer participating in that relationship in such a manner that is no longer in line with your intentions. This goes for all types of relationships and can be applied to, as we have said before, romantic relationships, as well as non-physical relationships with different guides, different spirit beings, as well as non-human relationships such as those with pets or with other animals. We hope that this is helpful for your understanding of how relationships can function, but the key here is to always understand your intentions in your relationship. So after this, if you are struggling in a particular relationship, reflect upon the intentions that you have for the giving and receiving of energy in the relationship, and see if there is a way that you could come to terms with or to recalibrate those intentions on both sides of the relationship. We believe that there are ideal relationships for every individual, and no individual deserves to be isolated and alone, but it requires setting that intention, giving, and being open to receiving and accepting those energies in. Thank you. That is all. I really appreciate Monty's perspective on this because he can see my relationships in my life and the energetic ties that I've had to people and about how they've been really unbalanced for a lot of my life, where I have given a lot more than I've received. I know this comes from a lot of my family conditioning of, you need to be independent. You need to not burden people. You don't ask other people for help, but you always give help. That's what makes a good person, right? It really deeply affected relationships, like the example I gave in the beginning. But as I've learned this, it started to help me transform my relationships with other people, as well as starting new relationships in my life. I have a very close relationship with someone that I was in a mentorship group with. And big shout out, Victoria. I know you listen to this. Thank you for your support. And it started off as just a relationship where we would communicate with each other about our frustrations and share what we were doing, that sort of thing, of just having just some time of some sharing and feeling some common emotions of the struggles that we were going through. And that's how a lot of friendships start is what's your common ground? And we were both working on improving our social media presence online for our businesses. Over time, we started to develop a relationship. And as I've learned from Monty, the give and take in relationships, I started to really understand like, not only could I show up in this relationship, but I could also set the intention that this relationship could hold space for me. This relationship could support me. This relationship could encourage me. That while I could do all that for her and be there for her in that way, I could also ask for that and have that expectation for the relationship. And then it's now has been one of the most beneficial relationships that I've had in my life up until this point. Going through that process of just taking this one relationship and really setting those intentions and making sure that I was holding those intentions and then also having her remind me of those intentions of every single time I would say, I feel bad for doing this. She would reiterate, no, that's what friends are for. This is what I'm doing. That helped me to understand how to apply that in other relationships in my life, including relationships that were not very intimate. In intimate relationships where we share a lot of details, we share a lot of experiences together, it's kind of easier to see that a relationship should have this give and take. Like in romantic relationships, it shouldn't be all one way. It's very obvious to see that. But in our more surface level interactions with people, the same applies. And I think we can still take this and understand that it can apply to every single interaction that we have. Every interaction is an energetic tie between you and that thing. And that can be from people of what we've talked about here a little bit, but it could be like your pets. It could be a tree. It doesn't really matter. It could even be ideas or concepts or your business. Any of those different things, it's that two-way relationship because you're sending energy to that thing and that thing should be sending energy back to you. It should be mutually beneficial. And you should be looking at that intention of that interaction. What I have found that has worked really well for me is as I'm going into an interaction, I remind myself, okay, what do I want to bring to this interaction? What energy do I want to bring forward? And what do I want to receive? And what am I looking for? And what am I open to? And really asking myself, can I open to that more? How much more can I open to the experience of having a really nice conversation with the checkout clerk and just having a nice part of my day? It can be simple things like that of when you approach the checkout clerk, I want to have a nice interaction with them, have a pleasant time. And it's funny of just setting that intention. I now have a really good relationship with the guy who brings the groceries to my car. I know him by name. I see him once a week. He remembers who I am. Sometimes, like if I have problems with my groceries, he takes care of them because we have a mutually beneficial relationship one to the other because I set that intention. And it's both benefited me, but it's also benefited him of that he can anticipate. He knows what time I'm coming at every Saturday. He knows where I'm coming. He knows, yep, this is her car, how to work her car. She's great. She's nice. She never complains. She always does her stuff in order. It's a good interaction. And it's a very surface level interaction. I don't know anything about him really other than his name, and he brings me my groceries. But we have this beautiful relationship with each other with someone I see once a week for maybe 5 minutes. It's thinking about, okay, how can I start to approach these different relationships in my life? How could I approach them with a certain intention to give energy of what energy I'm bringing to it, but also what energy to receive? And what am I open to? That can also help you begin to assess relationships are not beneficial. If I'm always the one reaching out and they're never reaching out to me unless they need something, they're never giving me support, they're never providing any sort of platform to hold space for me, any of those sorts of things, then maybe that's not a relationship you want. Or you can communicate with that and say, hey, I am really looking for friendships that are like this. And yeah, those conversations are hard, but they're very beneficial for you to get the relationships that you want in your life. I'd like you to think about what you want from your different relationships and the intentions and use this as a reflective exercise for the relationships in your life. I hope this episode was helpful. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please contact us at hello@kimcharlson.com. And we will see you in the next episode, which is a really good one because we're talking all about money as energy and how you can start to get more money in your life. See you there.